You know that moment when the neighborhood bully finally meets the one guy who doesn't blink? Picture Vanessa Hargrove, our HOA president in her perfectly pressed pastel pantsuit, slamming against my locked gate like a caged raccoon in designer heels, mascara rivers carving black highways down her Botox cheeks while she shrieked about community rights to 3 stone-faced state troopers. Her fake Louis Vuitton bag lay face down in the mud, $600,000 forged sale contracts scattering across the gravel like losing lottery tickets at the world's saddest party. And right behind her, the slick developer she'd been secretly cutting deals with stood frozen, phone glued to his ear, probably speed-dialing lawyers who were already 3 steps too late. Me? I stood on my dock, coffee steaming in the morning sun, watching this entitled real estate shark finally choke on the very legacy she tried to auction off. Yeah, that tablet the detective was holding? Crystal clear security footage of her forging county documents, every lie, every threat, every criminal backroom handshake caught in 4K glory. This woman actually thought she could bully a civil engineer into surrendering 80 years of family blood, sweat, and sacrifice. She thought wrong. I let her dig her own grave for 3 long months. Then I buried her in it legally, publicly, and with receipts that made the whole neighborhood cheer. My name's Ethan Caldwell. 41 years old, civil engineer by day, caretaker of something way bigger than blueprints by morning. Most folks around Willow Creek Estate see me as the quiet guy in the faded Carhartt jacket, who waves politely and minds his own business. I like it that way. I fix water systems, model storm runoff, keep aquifers honest. Stuff nobody notices until their basement turns into a swimming pool. But this place, this 45-acre spring-fed lake on my property isn't just scenery. It's memory. My grandfather Elias dug the entire basin by hand after coming home from World War II in 1945, using nothing but a veteran's land grant, a borrowed bulldozer that broke down every other day, and sheer stubborn Donovan blood. Family legend says Grandma sold her wedding ring for the dynamite that finally cracked the limestone shelf. Nobody tells that story without getting quiet. 3 generations learned to swim here. My dad taught me cannonballs off the dock. I taught my 10-year-old twins Ava and Ben how to skip stones and test pH levels before breakfast. My wife Emily, an environmental science teacher, set up a little lab station under the birch trees where the kids now track frog calls and water clarity like miniature scientists. This lake isn't an asset on a spreadsheet. It's Grandpa Elias's promise that some things outlast wars, recessions, and yes, even power-hungry HOA Karens who think community standards means my commission check. Willow Creek Estates looks like every other picture-perfect suburb on the outside. Manicured lawns, white picket dreams, kids on bikes. Underneath, a web of HOA rules so ridiculous they'd make a Soviet bureaucrat blush. No holiday lights after January 15th. Garden gnomes must be tastefully neutral. Grass height measured with a tape measure. Half an inch over and you're fined. Vanessa Hargrove swept in 2 years ago like a Category 5 Karen hurricane. Former Chicago luxury broker, fresh off a messy divorce settlement. Vanity plates screaming sold for you. Within 90 days she was HOA president, not because anyone voted but because she wore people down with spreadsheets and passive-aggressive newsletters. First it was almost funny. She'd cruise the streets in her spotless white Range Rover, measuring lawns like a discount tyrant. One family got cited for aesthetic terrorism because their Christmas wreath stayed up 2 days past the arbitrary deadline. Another got fined $250 because their flower pots didn't match the approved beige palette. The neighbors whispered, rolled their eyes, paid the fines. Classic HOA sheep behavior. Better to stay quiet than risk the wrath of the Property Enhancement Committee, which was really just Vanessa and her 2 wine club cronies. Then she noticed my lake. I'll never forget the exact afternoon. We were standing at the boundary fence exchanging the kind of neighborly small talk that feels like walking through a minefield. She tilted her head, stared across the water like she was pricing lakefront condos in her head, and said with that syrupy smile, "What a tragic waste of prime developable waterfront, Ethan. All that water just sitting there." It wasn't curiosity. It was a cash register sound. After that the questions started coming rapid fire. Who owns it legally? What are your taxes? Ever think about liability? Got recent surveys. The engineering part of my brain started pinging red flags immediately. This wasn't neighborly interest. This was a predator circling prey. The certified letter arrived on a drizzly March morning. Thick envelope, official-looking stamps, the kind that makes your stomach drop before you even open it. Mandatory community waterfront assessment. According to President Vanessa Hargrove, my private lake now qualified as a shared community resource under some freshly invented boundary reinterpretation. I owed $1,100 a month for communal access management. Miss a payment and the HOA would slap a lien, then foreclosure in 60 days. The language was pure legalese theater, dense enough to sound scary, sloppy enough that any engineer would spot the fraud. Emily read the dollar amount and went pale. That's $13,000 a year, Ethan. On top of everything else. Ava wandered in from the kitchen, eyes wide. Daddy, are we gonna lose Grandpa Elias's lake? The room got very quiet. Outside, the loons called across the water like they knew something was wrong. I didn't yell. I didn't email. I simply walked into the HOA office with the original 1945 deed, certified surveys, tax maps, and every piece of paper that proved the lake and 200 feet around it had never belonged to anyone but the Caldwells. Vanessa leaned back in her ergonomic throne, French manicure tapping the desk, and gave me the smile that probably closed 1,000 shady deals back in Chicago. Sweetheart, those dusty old papers don't override modern community standards. I kept my voice even. They override whatever fantasy boundary you drew on your fake survey. She slid her glossy, updated assessment across the desk like it was the Holy Grail. Bradley Surveying Group, color-coded, professional-looking. Except Bradley Surveying didn't exist in any state database. I told her so. Her smile flickered for half a second, the first crack in the mask, then snapped back. The board already voted. Decisions final. I asked for minutes. Executive session. Confidential. That's when I knew this wasn't overreach. This was straight-up fraud. I walked out without another word. But inside, the quiet engineer switched to predator mode. I treated my property like a municipal water project, installed 12 4K trail cams disguised as birdhouses, overlapping coverage, motion-triggered, redundant off-site backups. Legal signs posted everywhere. High-sensitivity mics in the dock lights. I started digging. Vanessa's personal bankruptcy from 18 months earlier. Lost broker license in Illinois for fraudulent representations. And then the jackpot, late-night footage of her and a guy in an expensive suit, Derek Langford of Langford Luxury Developments, walking my shoreline with professional gear. The audio was gold. $8 million subdivision potential, Langford said. We just need to pressure him into folding. Vanessa laughed. He's already cracking. One more health department complaint and he'll beg us to take it off his hands. That recording changed everything. This wasn't about grass length anymore. This was a conspiracy to steal my grandfather's legacy, so they could slap up luxury McMansions and split the profit. Vanessa needed the cash. $680K in secret debt, divorce settlement due in weeks, foreclosure breathing down her neck. The lake wasn't a power move. It was her life raft. And desperate people make mistakes. I just made sure every single one got filmed. The health department inspector showed up the next Tuesday, clipboard in hand, Vanessa trailing behind with her best concerned neighbor face. Complaint about stagnant water breeding mosquitoes. West Nile, you know, the children. Emily pulled me aside, voice shaking. The twins are scared, Ethan. Maybe we should just. I shook my head. I ran my own test that afternoon, cleaner than most city drinking water. Called the county director directly, walked him through the data. Turns out Vanessa had donated $5,000 to his re-election fund the week before. The complaint vanished by Friday. But the damage was done. Flyers appeared overnight. Dangerous property owner refuses safety compliance. Neighborhood Facebook group exploded with concern trolling. Parents stopped letting their kids play with Ava and Ben. Someone spray-painted selfish on our mailbox in dripping red. Ava came home crying because her best friend's mom said the lake might make them sick. Emily found Ben on his tablet Googling how to give up property so people like you again. That night on the dock, watching the water I'd sworn to protect, something inside me finished shifting. This stopped being defense. It became war, quiet, legal, and absolutely merciless. I called an old college buddy now in private investigations. 3 days later he laid out the rest. The secret preliminary sales contract between Vanessa and Langford for $600,000. Her finder's fee $180,000, just enough to save her skin. I upgraded the surveillance. Added an electromagnetic gate lock that could slam shut from my phone in 0.8 seconds. I hired the best property rights attorney in the state. I quietly contacted every family Vanessa had targeted before. I built a timeline so airtight it could survive Supreme Court scrutiny. And then I sent the polite certified letter, requesting formal meeting to discuss boundary dispute. May 15, 10 a.m. At the lake. Please bring your surveyor. Her reply email came back glowing. Finally being reasonable. I'll bring my team. She thought I was folding. She thought the pressure had worked. She had no idea she was walking straight into the most documented trap in HOA history. May 15th dawned crisp and bright, the kind of Michigan morning that makes you believe in second chances. Unless you're Vanessa Hargrove. I woke at 4:30, stepped onto the dock with my grandfather's old Carhartt jacket draped over my shoulders like armor, and ran one final system check. 12 cameras green. Audio levels perfect. Gate lock responsive. State Police Detective Morrison waiting in an unmarked car a quarter-mile away. Journalists from the Detroit Free Press already positioned with a telephoto lens. My attorney on standby. Emily kissed my cheek. Bring our lake home, she whispered. The twins were safe at her sister's. I'd promised them the water would still be ours when they got back. At 9:47 the convoy arrived. Vanessa's Range Rover gleaming, Langford's Mercedes purring, and the county inspector's official sedan bringing up the rear. Vanessa stepped out first, portfolio tucked under one arm, smile wide enough to hide the panic in her eyes. Ethan. So glad we're resolving this like adults. Langford followed, Rolex flashing, already treating the shoreline like future dock space. The inspector clutched his clipboard like a shield. I didn't open the gate right away. Documentation first, I said calmly. Langford tried the charm offensive. We're prepared to offer $180,000 for a quitclaim deed. Very generous given the environmental concerns. I raised an eyebrow. What environmental concerns? The inspector cleared his throat and read from his script. Preliminary tests indicate contamination requiring immediate remediation. Vanessa nodded solemnly, the picture of civic duty. I nodded slowly like I was actually considering it. Then I pulled my own EPA-certified lab report from my jacket, cleaner than bottled water, and laid it on the dock table between us. For one beautiful second Vanessa's mask slipped and pure animal panic flashed across her face. Langford jumped in smooth as oil. Look, we're trying to help you avoid costly legal battles. Sign now and walk away with cash. Vanessa's voice hardened. Otherwise the county will condemn it under eminent domain. You'll get nothing. The inspector muttered. Commissioner Hayes said the results would be adjusted for community safety. I let the silence stretch just long enough for every microphone to drink it in. Then I pulled out the secret purchase agreement they'd left in Langford's car the week before. How exactly were you planning to split the $600,000 from selling property you don't own? The air changed. Vanessa's laugh came out shrill. I have no idea what. I tapped my phone. The gate behind them clacked shut with a final metallic finality that sounded sweeter than any symphony. All three spun around. You're not leaving until the police get here, I said, voice still calm. Citizen's arrest is legal in Michigan when felonies are committed in your presence. You just confessed to about 9 of them on camera. Vanessa bolted for the gate, heels slipping, yanking the latch like a madwoman. This is illegal imprisonment, she screamed. I didn't raise my voice. Audio and video admissible in court. Every word. Every forged signature. Sirens cut through the morning air. 2 marked cruisers, unmarked detective car. County prosecutor's van rolling in like the cavalry in a movie nobody believed would actually happen. Vanessa's voice climbed into pure hysteria. He trapped us. This is entrapment. Detective Morrison stepped through the side gate, badge out. Ma'am, entrapment requires law enforcement to coerce you. These crimes were entirely your idea. The dominoes fell in glorious slow motion. Cuffs clicked. Rights were read in that flat official tone that somehow makes everything feel more real. Vanessa's perfect blowout collapsed as she thrashed, designer bags spilling lipstick and lies across the gravel. Langford went quiet, calculating jail time in his head. The inspector started sobbing about his kids before they even finished reading his charges. I stood on the dock and watched the system I'd engineered do exactly what it was built to do, not with rage, but with the cold satisfaction of a blueprint that finally balanced. Emily walked out, tears streaming, and wrapped her arms around me. It's over, I told her. The lake is safe. Behind us the water stayed perfectly calm, reflecting the sky like it had never been in danger at all. The news detonated faster than Vanessa's fake survey ever could. By the time the last cruiser pulled away, the neighborhood Facebook group, once a cesspool of her concern trolling, had gone radio silent for 3 whole minutes. Then the apologies flooded in. Mrs. Patterson, who'd led the charge against our mosquito breeding ground, showed up at the dock with trembling hands. We believed her, we actually believed her. I just nodded. She was good at making people afraid. That's how bullies win. Until they don't. Families who'd crossed the street to avoid us started showing up with casseroles and confessions. Turns out Vanessa had been running the same extortion racket for years: fines, fake complaints, pressure sales. One couple almost lost their home over mismatched shutters. Another family sold their farm after she threatened foreclosure. The pattern was textbook HOA tyranny, and the whole neighborhood had been too scared to speak up until the queen lost her crown. That evening the dock turned into an impromptu block party. 40-plus neighbors, coolers, kids cannonballing for the first time in months because Vanessa had declared the lake private HOA property, and fear had done the rest. Ava and Ben ran straight to me when they got home. Daddy, did you save Grandpa Elias's lake? I knelt down. We all did, kiddo. Sometimes you have to stand up together. As the sun dipped gold across the water, I sat with Emily's hand in mine and felt something settle deep in my bones. This had never been about revenge. It was about proving that one quiet guy with a tape measure and a backbone could still beat the system when the system forgot who it was supposed to protect. 3 months later the courtroom was so quiet you could hear Vanessa's designer heels click as she walked to the bench. She pled guilty, 24 months federal prison, $250,000 restitution, lifetime ban from any HOA board. The judge looked her dead in the eye. You exploited trust to prey on families. This is everything wrong with unchecked HOA power. Langford fought it and lost 6 years, $1.2 million in fines, his development company bankrupt. The inspector flipped and testified against Commissioner Hayes, who got 8 years for public corruption. My civil suit netted $850,000 in judgments, but money was never the point. The precedent was. Within months Michigan passed the Homeowner Protection Act, 75% vote required for assessments, mandatory audits, criminal penalties for false claims. I testified in Lansing, kept it simple. HOAs were created to protect property values, not create thieves in pastel pantsuits. I used part of the settlement to start the Elias Caldwell Conservation Trust, permanent easement, no development ever, turned into a university research station. Rebecca's students now run water tests where my kids once played. Every 4th of July we scatter wildflower seeds along the shoreline, neighbors joining in, laughing as the colors catch the wind. The new HOA board runs on term limits and actual votes. Suspicious activity gets reported instead of whispered about. And every Saturday morning the twins still eat pancakes on the dock, bird guides open, asking questions about turbidity and legacy. I still walk out here at dawn, coffee in hand, watching the herons stalk the shallows. People ask if I regret the stress, the cameras, the months of watching my kids cry. I look at Ava and Ben swimming in water their great-grandfather dug with his own hands, and I know the answer every single time. Some things are worth fighting for. If you're dealing with an HOA Karen right now, ridiculous fines, bogus assessments, neighbors turning on you, hear me? Document everything. Know your deed. Build your evidence like an engineer builds a dam. The system can work, but only if you make it. So tell me in the comments, was Vanessa just a desperate woman trying to survive? Or was she the ultimate HOA Karen who finally got exactly what every bully deserves? Who was really in the wrong here, the quiet guy protecting his family's legacy, or the system that let her rise? Drop your own HOA horror stories below. I read every single one. And remember, the lake is still here. Some things refuse to be stolen.